in the middle of Raytown, Georgia, and it's a good time to go looking for some stars in the sky. It is about 50 degrees maybe, which is why I'm wearing this hoodie. I might have to put the hoodie on a little bit from now. All right, so let me point out some things. So that screen right over there is an infrared night vision camera, which is showing us stars in the sky. And I will move it around and we will look at various stars at various points. That screen down there at the bottom, that's going to have some questions that I'm going to type in. And I will ask you periodic questions and you can respond to me if you would. And then, of course, type your responses down here. I apologize that there's about a 30-second delay between when you type your responses and whenever I actually can respond to you directly. So there's going to be a little bit of a time lag. Hopefully that's okay. You'll get used to it. So is anybody there yet? Is anybody there? All right, Star. So since you're here at least, let's go ahead and get started doing the stargazing. So down here in the bottom, I'm going to type a question for you, and here's the first question, and it's related to actually this seemingly boring looking part of the sky. Yeah, so here's the question. What's the name of the constellation containing our nearest major galaxy in the local group? Complicated question. So what do you think it is, Star? What is the nearest major galaxy to us? Do you remember that? It's about 2.5 million light years away, pretty freaking far, and it's going to run into us eventually in several billion years. So what do you think? What do you think it is? The hint is the constellation is related to the name of the galaxy. And right here on the screen, I actually have the galaxy displayed, which is really crazy. Okay, so let me show you. Right here, that crazy smudge, that is the nearest major galaxy in our local group. It's actually visible in the sky under dark conditions. You know what it is? You have an idea, Star? Yes, no, maybe? Yes, no? What do you think? All right, so this is, and let's just type it. Ooh, look, they want to fly there. This is the Andromeda galaxy. Does that sound familiar? And once again, here it is. Andromeda galaxy. Okay? All right, so we're actually looking at the constellation of Andromeda. And it's not quite fully contained in the screen here. I will try to center it up a little bit better. Okay, so let me show you the actual constellation here. So the constellation of Andromeda goes something like this. And then there's this and this, and then it goes off screen. There's sort of a star way up here, and that's what Andromeda looks like. And so the way that I always think about where is the Andromeda Nebula is if you so you see how you almost see this in the sky right here. So you got these two stars right here. These two stars are a certain distance. If you follow that distance straight over, That's where the Andromeda Galaxy is. Okay? And just to sort of show you the final part of Andromeda, this is the final part right here. Okay? So this is a really interesting double star in Andromeda. This is called Almach. Let me type that out. Almach. It's we actually saw it last night in the telescope. It's actually, interestingly, metaphorically maybe, it's the colors of the Ukrainian flag. There's a blue star that's really pretty, and a yellow star that's really pretty right next to it. Pretty fascinating. So once again, this is Almach. Okay, all right, we're moving on. We're moving on. Any questions so far? So, you know, the way this works, stars, you're just going to have to jump in here and say things when it comes to mind because the interactivity is low. So let me ask you a question here. There's another really famous constellation just over here. See that? So here's our next question. What's the name of the constellation that looks like a sideways W or M, depending on which way your head's turned? Off to the right of Andromeda. What is it? I think you've had this in homework assignments, and where is it? Can you see it? Can you see that constellation? Let me show it, and then maybe you will know the name. All right, so no, we don't want the arrow. We want that, and we want it to stay on the screen. So here we go. Bing, 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 bing. By the way, Star, if you want to crack open Stellarium while you're sort of watching this, maybe it'll help you to answer some of these questions. But there we go. There is a constellation, and it looks like a sideways W or M. Of course, depending on what time of year and time of day it is, it will either be an M or a W, right? Because it rotates around the sky. So this is the constellation of Cassiopeia, however you want to pronounce that. And this is actually a queen, and the myth of Cassiopeia is sort of a tragic one. Cassiopeia's daughter is Andromeda, and of course Andromeda we just saw is over to the left, and Andromeda was pretty cool. And Cassiopeia just kept mouthing off about how beautiful her daughter was over and over again. She just couldn't shut her yap. Talking about it. And as a result, she got to be put in the sky, going around the sky backward for all eternity. So that's what happens whenever you kind of, I guess you're a braggart. But anyway, that's Cassiopeia. So that's the second constellation. All right, and Andromeda was rescued by somebody else, and I will show you that constellation now, moving up in the sky. By the way, let's get some directions here. So we saw the bottom of Andromeda is kind of right about here. Oops, wrong thing. Bottom of Andromeda is sort of right about here in the tree. That is about 2/5 above the horizon, okay? And Cassiopeia, the bottom right here, is about it's about 3/5 above the horizon, okay? So that's 3/5 above the horizon. As you can probably tell with this glare over here, this is west. Okay, so this is kind of northwest. This is kind of northwest here, is what I would say. Halfway between north and west. All right, let's go back to Cassiopeia. So there's Andromeda, Cassiopeia, and just above Cassiopeia is this very strange looking constellation here. Okay, so let me draw this constellation. This is Perseus, and the constellation of Perseus looks a little like this. Oh, no, 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 no. Fade away, arrow. Why do I have an arrow? There we go. So it looks like this. As I recall, so this is Perseus here. Okay, Perseus. And I'm going to let that fade away a little bit so we can see Perseus again. I actually think it kind of looks like a fleur-de-lis, you know, if you think about it. Right? Kind of looks like a fleur-de-lis. But anyway, that's Perseus. There's a really interesting star here that we're going to talk about later in class. Right here. And this star is named Algol. So once again, it's this star right here, Algol. It's one of the most well-known variable stars. It's variable because it's actually two stars, and the line of sight, they actually rotate around each other, and we are in the line of sight of them, and so sometimes one goes in front of the other, and it dramatically changes the brightness of the star. And so the ancients knew about this. You know, every X number of days, the brightness would dim and then get brighter and dim and brighter. And so this really freaked out people in the ancient times because, I mean, these stars are supposed to be mutable. And so for these things to get bright and dim was pretty dramatic. So anyway, Algol, they called it the demon star as a result of that. So there you go. We'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so we did have a homework assignment, though, that talks about something that was in between Cassiopeia and Perseus. Okay, so here's kind of the foot of, oh, come on, stop it. Here's kind of the foot of Perseus, right, off the screen. And then here is, let's change the color here. Here's Cassiopeia, right? So right in between them, see how you draw a line between these two? And then right in between them is something a little different. Right here, you see that? So Star, just to convince me that you're still alive here, that blurry thing, do you see one blurry thing, two blurry things, three blurry things? What do you see? What do you see? That thing right in the middle of that square. How many blurs do you see, do you think? Yes. Yes, exactly. Two big blurries. Okay, so there's a reason why that is. We actually had a homework problem associated with this. That is, yeah, it's like, yeah, so there are some concentrations. There are two big concentrations. And the reason why you see two is because that is the double cluster. It's a star cluster. And if you were to zoom in on it, Delay's okay. Delay's okay. Let me show you what the double cluster looks like in Stellarium. You know, we can't exactly see it here, but I'm going to type it in. Double cluster. Okay, so there we are. We're going to zoom in. We're going to zoom in. And so that is what we're looking at. Let's turn all this junk off here. There we go. So it's two big concentrations of stars. It's literally two open star clusters. And if you back away from it, you can indeed see that there are these two clusters of stars. It's actually kind of amazing. You can see that with your eye. If I were to look up there right now, I can see it with my eye, and the infrared camera does a pretty good job. Pretty good job of pulling that out. All right, so we kind of saw, so that's Perseus, and then Cassiopeia, and then the double cluster. So when we were looking back at Perseus, we saw something magical appear at its feet here. The feet of the warrior here. Over there. Right. Look at that. Bing, bang, bong. Look at that. I have a question for you. So if Perseus is... If Perseus is kind of here, right? You see Perseus there? Then the question is, what... Well, let me... I'm going to show that, but let's hide the screen brush. My next question is, what is the name of the group of stars just to the left of Perseus? I think you know what I'm talking about. So I showed you where Perseus is. Let's just see it again. So here's Perseus. So what is to the left of that? What is that group of stars called? We've had that in homework problems. It's one of the most recognizable groups of stars that's out there. It's a pleasure to actually look at this thing. What do you think it is? What could it be? One of the most famous groups of stars. The Pleiades, indeed. Indeed. I'm going to spell that just because this is going to go on the web and somebody's going to look at it. So that would be the Pleiades, right? Cool. Awesome. And they say there are 7, but I can either see 8 or 6. These are actually... famous, as my historian wife has told me numerous times, and I went and looked at some of the literature and indeed confirmed that. The Pleiades were actually an ancient eye test. So if you're like me, or, you know, Star, you've got glasses on, I don't want to speak for you as to how good or bad your vision is, but if I take my glasses off, I'm kind of like, well, it looks like a blur up there. I could see there's a bright blur, but that's it. There's not a star. It's just kind of... However, other people can see these stars distinctly with their eye without any glasses or anything like that. So if you wanted to see if, for example, a soldier had the ability to see things well, or a captain of a ship, that was basically one way that you could do it. Okay, so next question for you. So what constellation, let's turn that off, hide the screen brush, next constellation. I'm making you work for this this credit here, Star. Does the Pleiades belong to? And then what does it look like in a vague sense? All right, so what's the constellation associated with that little thing? So obviously we're talking about this, right? The Pleiades. What constellation does that group of stars belong to? That's right, Taurus. Awesome. And so what does Taurus look like in a vague sense? Do you know? Well, it does look like a bull. Sure. It shows the face of the bull, right? There we go. Doesn't quite fit in there. I think it looks like a V. It looks like a V with a goatee. Right, so here is the bull. No, wrong. I always get that horn wrong. All right, let's do that horn again. All right, here's horn number 1. Here's horn number 2. Did I get that right? I always get that wrong. No, I got it wrong again. Crap. All right. Yes, it is a V. The V is the face, right? Okay, no, I was right. This is horn number 1. This is horn number 2. Here's its face. And then it's got a goatee, kind of like this. All right, and somehow the constellation connects over here. I don't know what that means. I don't know how that's connected to the bull, except other than it's in the constellation. But anyway, that is the constellation of Taurus. Excellent. So, next question for you. By the way, I've left on my USB mic so that you can hear all the ambient noise going on in Raytown. So that was a tractor just going down the street, because that's the kind of traffic that we have around here in Raytown. So, next question. This constellation is a member of the zodiac. What does that mean? Tell me. What does that mean? Taurus is a member of the zodiac. In fact, it's a member of the zodiac, and it represents a particular month. I believe the month is late April, early May. So it's kind of like from the 20th of April to the 20th of May, I believe. What do those dates represent? When I say Taurus is associated with the 20th of April to the 20th of May, what does that kind of mean? What does that mean? I'm sorry, I'm just sitting here talking to myself, but the delay is kind of a little bit crazy. So, yep, one of the 12 constellations across. That's right. It's along the ecliptic plane, and so guess what? That means that there are other constellations near this that are in the ecliptic plane. That are nearby, right? So somewhere there's got to be a line. Somewhere there's got to be a line where, you know, like maybe the ecliptic is here or something like that. And indeed, it is. So, since you know all of the Earth's rotation lines up where we can see the zodiac at the time. That's right. In fact, so from April 20th to May 20th, approximately, the sun spends time in Taurus. Yep. Obviously, they are there. So, yep. So, the reason why Taurus is kind of low on the horizon over there, it's not low. I'd say that V is about, well, actually, it's not low at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's about 6 fists up, is that in April, the sun is going to be right on top of it. Okay, late April. So in a couple more months, it's going to be down there. All right, so let's look for another constellation and see where the ecliptic is. That is the zodiac. So that is Taurus, and we're going to go over here because I know the answer to this question. And let's find it. Well, okay, there we go. Got it. Okay. There we go. Sadly, one of the most boring constellations in the world. All right, so this is a constellation, and you say you know all the zodiacal signs. So tell me what this one is. Let's draw it. Turn the clock off. Boop, boop, boop. That's it. There's there is another zodiacal constellation right there, which means that the ecliptic basically is kind of like, I want to get it right. It's kind of like this, right? The ecliptic's kind of like that because Taurus is up here. So what is this? What do you think it is? So I'll give you a hint. It's right next to it. So it's got to be either the zodiacal constellation associated with March and April, or it's got to be the one associated with May and June. So you got a 50-50 guess if you know which one that is. So let me write that as a question. What is the zodiacal constellation that looks like a curve of 4 stars just adjacent to Taurus? And why does it look so boring? I don't have an answer to that second question. So what do you think it is? What do you think, Star? What do you think? What do you think? Oh, hey, look, there's a plane going across the screen there. Hey, that's fun. It's a plane. It's not a meteor or satellite. I can verify it's a plane blinking red and green. It's all Christmassy. Cancer. Good guess. Nope, Cancer's in June and July, I think. That is Aries. Aries. Now, don't tell me, I have no idea how 4 stars that form a curve is a ram, but there it is. That's Aries. There it is. Okay. So, wait. Wait, what? Did I get it wrong? I can show you. It is Aries, indeed. If I find Stellarium. Yep, Aries. You meant Aries. Oh, I see. You meant Aries. Okay, I believe you. So see, there it is. Right there on the screen. Aries. 1, 2, 3, 4. And, okay, let's see what the picture tells us it looks like. Oh, yeah, that looks like a goat. Or it could be a car. Or a finger. Or a French curve. Or a protractor. You know, it could really be anything. So, those crazy, wacky Greeks, what imagination they had. All right, so we're moving on now. All right, so moving across the sky, back to Taurus. And by the way, I have a totally different interpretation of Taurus, since you must know. There goes the tractor again, by the way. I actually think that Taurus isn't a bull at all. I think that it's a possum. Here it is. Here's the possum's head. Here's his back. See? Here's his tail. And he's sort of skittering along. He's actually skittering after a little persimmon or something like that. All right, that's my interpretation. I don't think Taurus is actually a bull. I think it's a possum. It's just me. But every time I see it, especially when it's dark, it's actually pretty clear. You can see the body. It's this little body thing and this little head. He's kind of weaselly, and he's got the long tail that allows him to hang from the tree. Anyway, my interpretation. All right, so we're going to continue over to the east, and we're now pointing about due south. Oh, look at that constellation. Everybody knows that one. Oh, no, it's famous. It's famous, right? That's Orion. That's the constellation of Orion. So, question for you, Star. Dang it. Stop it. Stop it. So, name two, why is it in caps? Name two stars, major stars in Orion. You should probably be able to name two major stars. Oop, that's kind of spooky. The tractor's coming back, and yet there are no lights on that thing. We got a ghost tractor going by. Tell you what, nothing is quite as dangerous as a tractor going down a rural road in the middle of the night with absolutely no headlights on. I literally cannot see what is going on with that thing. But, you know, it's Raytown. Crazy things happen. Crazy things happen. All right, so name two major stars in Orion. Rigel. Okay, that's one. That is one. What's another one? Come on, you can do it. Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse. Right, so you know where they are? You know where they are? Do you know where they are? I can point them out. Let's see. I just wanted to make sure the arrow is going the right way. Nope, you were right the first time. We'll look at Sirius in a second. So here's Rigel. And here's Betelgeuse. Sweet. Good job. And of course you know what this is, right? Right in the middle of that square? You know what that is, right? So what is it? Just for yucks, I'm going to pop something up here. Oh. So last night we took a class portrait of people who came out here, and that little figure ended up being in that picture. So here we go. So here's the group. Yay! Spooky. And this is the same yard I'm in. I'm literally sitting about where the camera was. And if you go up here, look at that. So there's Orion's belt. And look at that crazy thing. What is that? What are we looking at here? What is that? That, of course, is Orion's Nebula. Orion's Nebula. Okay. So, let's talk about some of the creatures that are around Orion as he's hunting. No, it's Orion's Nebula. Yep. All right, so let's talk about the creatures that are around Orion as he's hunting. So, let's see. Here are two of them. Let's see if I can. It's kind of stuck in the trees. That's unfortunate. Okay, so we're just below Orion's feet. Okay, so there's Orion's belt, and so we're below his tunic or whatever you want to call that. And there are two funny constellations here. It is a nebula. It is. It is literally a nebula. It's Orion's Nebula. Okay, so one of these is Canis Major. So let's point that out. So here's Canis Major. It looks like a sawhorse. It's covered by the tree, so I'm gonna have to be tricky about how to draw this. Oh, I got it. It's being eclipsed by the tree. So, all right. So we're gonna get rid of that. We're gonna redraw it. So it looks like a sawhorse to me. Okay. So there's the sawhorse part of Canis Major, and then it's like he's got a box, and then there's I forget his head. His head's up here somewhere. I think it's off the screen. Something like that. So that's basically the dog. Once again, I think it looks more like a sawhorse than anything. And look at this cool thing here. Not as cool as through binoculars, but look at that. What do you think that is? I'll give you a hint. It's the same type of object as the Pleiades, or the Hyades, or the double cluster. Yeah. By the way, can you hear that rustling? I'm hoping the rustling's picking up on the microphone. Out of the depths of the darkness, there is a bunch of leaves rustling over in that direction. That is likely to be an armadillo. It's a little spooky, because I can't see anything. But they make an incredible amount of noise because of their hard shell and the leaves. I scared one the other night. He was kind of fiddling around, and he got to within about 3 feet of me, and I turned on my cell phone flashlight, and suddenly he freaked out and ran away. Anyway, one of the wonderful things about living in the middle of nowhere. All right, so what is that thing right there? That is actually an open cluster of stars. I forget what it's called. M47, I think. Let's take a look and see which one it is. Right, so let's go to, see that right there? See it? See? There it is. And that's a little beehive cluster. M41, not 47. 41. M41. Messier 41. Okay? There it is. And it's neat. It's neat. This infrared camera I've got. It's pretty. And see, there's the head. It's kind of this big fat thing. It's kind of amazing you can see that. I mean, that's clearly it, right? Am I wrong? That's clearly what it is. Pretty neat. It's a very clear night tonight. It's freaking cold too. All right, so Canis Major. So here's another funny one, and I can draw the asterism. It's Lepus the hare. And when I first saw this, I thought, oh, Lepus is like a rabbit's head mounted on a wall or something. Oops, nope, don't want that. So, in some ways, Lepus looks like a rabbit's head, right? And then if you sort of, this is really grotesque, but, you know, if you kind of mounted his head on a plate, there you go, Lepus. Lepus didn't quite make it. Anyway, that's not what the asterism is supposed to be. It's actually somehow it's like the head is like that, and it's complicated. It's like his back leg is doing this number, and then he's sort of, I don't know. I've seen a picture before. It's strange. I actually like the hair mounted on a, not that I like cruelty to little animals, but the head on the wall kind of looks a little bit more like I would expect it to. All right, so Lepus the hare, Canis major. So here's something that most people don't know. There's actually a unicorn in the sky. What? There's a unicorn in the sky. Let's see if we can find it. You know what? I don't think we're going to talk about the unicorn because it's very, very difficult to see. This is one of the stars. And basically it's this faint group of stars here. This is a constellation called, and I would say this doesn't count because neither one of us knows exactly what this looks like. Ooh, looks like a plane or something. Yep, that's a plane. Yeah, anyway, this is called Monoceros. Monoceros, the unicorn. And just like all unicorns, it's so rare that you can't even see it. I can sort of make out a few of the stars. Part of the problem is they're all dim, and if you use like a camera like I've got, all of these dim stars kind of pop out in the sky. Yep. So, but there is one constellation here that is relevant, and it's right here. It's very boring. Boop. All right, there it is. It's 2 stars. And this bright star here is Procyon. And this constellation with 2 stars is Canis Minor. So what's interesting is, look, there's Canis Minor. If I go down, here's Canis Major over here. So the big dog is like kind of trailing Orion, and the little dog's way up here. And sometimes people say that this isn't a little dog at all, it's a fox. And so the fox has gotten way ahead of the hunter and the dog. There goes that crazy tractor again. Now he's got a bush hog attached to the back. I don't know whether he's going to be cutting hay tonight. That seems a little crazy. Hope his insurance is paid up. All right, once again, the crazy things you see. So what else can we see in the night sky here? Rah, rah, rah. All right, so let me type a question, because you haven't had a question for a while. So, what constellation represents the twins? And why is it considered the twins? Why would you think, oh, this constellation is the twins, just looking at it? Something to think about. What do you think? What do you think? Do-do-do-do. Oh, the Big Dipper's coming on. The Big Dipper is big as you know what. Gemini, exactly. So why do they say that Gemini represents the twins? When you look at it in the sky, let's take a look. Ooh, we got some insect action here. All right, there it is. There's Gemini. Why do you think it is? Why do you think it looked like two parallel people? It does, right? Even more so. If you look at that star and that star, they're really essentially the same brightness. They're fairly prominent. They're fairly bright. I mean, they're not the brightest stars in the sky, but they're fairly bright. And they could be twins, I suppose. All right, so Gemini is drawn in a number of ways. Let's see. I'll draw it my way because I like my way. Right. So let's see if I can do this right. Okay. Bing, 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 bing. And then there's something over here. And then do. And something. Somehow the legs look like that, and then the arms are kind of like this. I actually think it's kind of bogus. I think that the way it should be drawn and the way it used to be represented in terms of symbols is it just looks like an omega, right? These are the stars that are, oh, come on, dude. These are the stars that are visible in the night sky anyway. Yeah. Oh man, can you hear that donkey? There's a donkey braying off in the distance there. Okay, so that's Gemini. By the way, if you have a telescope or some other such thing, see how this region looks all spotted? They've got these little bits and pieces here. There is some fantastic stuff going on in that region. Near its foot, there's like a supernova remnant. It's a nebula that clearly looks like a bubble. There's like some star clusters. It's crazy. There's some dark nebula. It's kind of fascinating. It's amazing region. Gemini's foot. All right, nerding out with the prof. So time for a question because we're getting kind of to the end here. All right, so question here. So So what is the lion and what does it look like? Roughly. And don't say it looks like a lion. I mean, clearly it looks like a lion in some sort of way, but shape-wise, if I were to look at it, how would I know? So let's go train on it over here. Too high. There we go. That's kind of it. Sort of. Leo, indeed. Leo the lion. What does it look like? Well, it looks like that, but what kind of shape is the characteristic to find it in the sky? This is always the easiest way to find this thing. Struggled identifying it. Okay, well, let me help you out then. It shouldn't be a struggle. So you might have to look at that picture and make sure what's going on there. Oh, that's literally a big time jet. In fact, I can hear the jet going there. So jet flying across Leo. Right. So, it looks like a backward question mark to start off with. Alright, see that? Backward question mark. I'm going to do that again. And by the way, this star here, this is Regulus. Regulus. Yeah, it's got another star up here that's kind of unfortunately gone off the page. All right, and now there's some other parts that are obvious. So it connects like this. Okay. And then you can't see it, but there's a triangle down like this. I'm going to turn this off and then I'll show you the triangle. All right, but it's a backward question mark. And see, it looks like a lion sort of in a sphinx. So that's his head. There's his body. Oh, come on, dude. That's crazy. And then, yeah, you can't see it, but the stars right here. So here's the back side of the lion. Right, and then here's his head. Here's his head up here. Here's his body. Here's his backside. So he's kind of a reclining cat. Cool cat in the sky. Regulus is an interesting star. So Regulus is literally on the ecliptic. Regulus is literally on the ecliptic, and one of the things that means is any star that's really close to the ecliptic might have planets coming really close to it at times. And there have been times here and there and everywhere where planets have passed really close to Regulus, and you know, I guess in ancient times people would say, "Oh, that look at the planets dancing around that star." So Regulus had some import as a star. It was, you know, fairly bright. It's kind of a yellowish star, and occasionally it would dance with the planets. And so this is definitely one of those stars in ancient times that people paid a lot of attention to. As a result, yippers, yep. All right, so we're getting to the end here. I want to show you one of the largest constellations in the night sky. And you can tell me what we're looking at. Where are we here? It's hard to do this when you're sort of sitting down. Okay. What is going on, dude? Is it the perspective? There we go. That's better. Just had to move it across the table there. Alright, so this thing is so big, it's definitely not all contained. So what do you think that constellation is? What constellation are we looking at right now? And this constellation, by the way, is about, currently, there's another star down here. It's about 2 fists off the horizon. What do you think? What do you think it is? Come on, this should be easy. It's big, so that means it must be major in terms of a constellation. It must be something major, something big, something major. What do you think it is? Ooh, look, when I swivel in my chair, you can see my shadow over here as the infrared light either goes over my shadow and hits the tree or doesn't. That's pretty cool. What is it? Major constellation. So it's Ursa Major, and it looks like this. So that's where the handle starts. Canis Major. Well, that's a good guess, but we already looked at Canis Major, right? Canis Major was underneath Orion. So here is the body of Ursa Major. It's also known as the Big Dipper. Right? So there's the Dipper part. But the bear is much more extensive than that. The bear has feet that kind of go like this. And we're not even looking at the front part of him. So keep in mind what you're seeing here. And we're gonna look up in the sky and see if we can see the rest of him. Okay. So here's the body of the bear once again. That's the Dipper part. And here was his back leg. I mean, this thing's huge. Right, so there's his back leg. And then here's his body. Come on, why are you erasing everything? Stop it. Back leg. All right, now it gets a little trickier. I believe it's this. Yeah, that's right. And then it goes on even further, like way up here. And he's got a front leg that looks like that. I mean, this is giant. This is a giant constellation. It's huge. How huge? I'll measure it for you in a second. So see, there's his front leg right there. Front paw, back paw. So from the tip of his face, which is right about here, down to his tail, which is down here. I mean, this is a huge bear, right? So he's 2 fists above the horizon. He is 1, 2, 3, 4. Like about 5 fists tall. It's insane. That thing is insane. 5 fists tall. By the way, that's just the that's just my head, the shadow of my head, blocking the infrared light coming from this camera that's actually making this picture that you see right there. And it kind of makes these creepy colors here. All right, I think I've thoroughly amused myself here. So I guess that's it. One last question. So now that we've seen the night here, where is the Milky Way tonight? Okay. Oops, wrong way. Where is the Milky Way? It's hard to know where the Milky Way is with respect to this part of the sky because we're looking at the back end of the Milky Way. We're not looking at the bulge. We're looking at the back end. So see how if I'm down here, see how you don't see really much of anything. You see some stars. But if I go up to Taurus, whoom, look at that. Suddenly there's a bunch of stars there, right? Bunch of stars. So let's kind of follow those stars along. If we go over here, suddenly we're in Orion, right? If you look up north, you can see there's kind of a bunch of stars coming down to the Dog. See how there's just a lot of stars there, a lot of stars there in Orion, a lot of stars in Taurus. and over here in the Perseus area, there's a lot of stars. See that? And then follow it down to Cassiopeia. Okay, so there's Perseus right there. And if we follow it down to Cassiopeia, there are more stars. So that's kind of the Milky Way. The Milky Way extends all the way across from Cassiopeia effectively through Taurus, through Canis Major and Orion. And you can literally see it okay tonight. But because you're not looking at the center of the galaxy, so let me draw you a picture here. Turn that off. So here's the Milky Way. Let's make it green. Okay, so the Milky Way is like a circle here. And here's the bulge. And here we are. Right. So it's nighttime and it's winter, and what we're effectively looking at right now is we are sort of looking at this region right here. We're looking at the back side of we're looking at the outer part of the Big Dipper. In the morning time, or in the October type of time region, we end up seeing the bulge. And so constellations that you see in this region over here would be Sagittarius, and just below that would be Scorpius. And then on the back side, like tonight, you end up seeing, Orion and Canis. Come on. Canis Major. So depending on what side you're looking at, you're either looking out away from the bulge or you're looking in towards the bulge. And tonight we're looking away from it. And that's why it's not very prominent. I mean, you see a lot of stars. You can clearly see where the plane of the galaxy is. If you look straight up, you can definitely see it's there. But definitely not as prominent as looking at the bulge. All right, so I think thus concludes our session here. I have a feeling, Star, you may have been like the sole attention getter here for tonight. That's totally fine with me. I mean, that's the whole point of doing it. Any questions? Any questions for me before I get inside and defrost my feet?